Tutorial, we're going to create a tutorial on neon text. The first thing we're going to do is create our background, and then we'll create the font. So if you go on to the internet and grab a picture of bricks, does not matter what it is, just search brick wall. Brick wall. And then if you go to your images, just make sure when you pick a wall, doesn't matter, I'm going to choose one that's even bright so you can see how it will change, but make sure when you open it up you don't just grab and copy and paste the image that comes up in the black box. Make sure you actually go to view image so it opens it to the full size of the picture is. See, it's much larger, and now I can copy the image. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my Photoshop and I'm going to make a new file. And I'm going to call it neon text. And make sure the resolution is 72. We're not going to be printing this, so 72 is sufficient. Then Command V as in Victor will paste your file. Image, adjustments. You have two options, hue, saturation, and brightness contrast. So I'll start with the brightness contrast. If you just bring down that brightness, your picture will start to get darker. And then after that, I'm going to go to the hue, saturation. And again, work with my picture to make it even darker. Okay. Then I'm going to create a text layer. So I'm going to go New. I have the T tool selected. I'm going to make my name. So I'm going to click and drag a text box. I'm going to say Miss Cox. Again, once you have the tool on the left selected, your properties panel along the top changes, so you can use any text available within there if you'd like. And again, any size. If you're not sure of the size, sometimes it's easy just to write in a number. Depending on the size of your picture and the size of the font you selected, you're going to use different sizes of font. So this is a massive picture, so it's a massive font. And then I have my name right there. To move it around, use the black cursor, and then you can move it anywhere on the screen. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is add a stroke and a drop shadow. So in your layers panel, which if you don't see it right here, you can go to Window and select the word Layers. Okay. It's also when it's not really large. I make this smaller. It looks like the two diamonds on top of each other, and then it will open up. So I'm going to right-click my layer and go to Blending Options. I'm going to add a stroke of any color that's bright, because remember we're going with neon, so you want to do something that's bright. Okay, so let's even do like a green now. Like that, nice and bright. Okay, you want to make the stroke large enough that it has an impression, so I can use my slider to see what size stroke would be best. Obviously that's way too big, right? So you're going to try and find a happy number that still lets your text be legible and neat, but gives you this neon effect. Then we're going to hit the word drop shadow. Again, notice how I'm collecting the word and not the check mark. If I just use the check mark, I don't get the whole menu. Then we're going to add a drop shadow. Multiply black, opacity 100%, angle 120, and then we're just going to increase the distance so there's some depth away from it and make the spread much larger. Okay, and also increase the size so it becomes even more present. There you go. Nice drop shadow there. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is duplicate our layer. There's two options. You can right click and duplicate layer, or you can drag it to the bottom. So that's one way to duplicate it. Or if you click the word and drag it over the square with an edge turned, it will make a duplicate. We are going to go into our blending options of the new layer. And we are going to add a texture to the inside of the font. So we don't want the stroke on this layer. We don't want the drop shadow. So we've removed and we have just the white of our word. We're going to go to Bevel and Emboss, select the word texture, and add a texture. Within your drop-down tabs here, you get 5 or 6 basics, but this lovely wheel gives you all these different options. So you don't have to use what's visible for you. You can always open a sub-menu and then you'll get more textures within it. Okay. Once you've selected a texture, click the word bevel and emboss. Make sure you have an inner bevel that's smooth. Up 100%, size 5, soften 0, angle 120, altitude 30, gloss contour is square, screen. We're going to bring this down a little bit so it's not as clear. We want it to be a rough one, and bring that down just a little bit so it's a more rougher texture. And then we're going to use the word color overlay to put a color into our texture. Obviously red, it's not really the color we're going for. You want to go along a darker version of the outer glow. So I have an outer green, so I'm going to go with a darker version of the green. It creates depth in my neon. And the last step you're going to do is add a small black stroke. And the reason why you're going with a small is you're just trying to create a 3D kind of ness to this neon, so it's like those halogen lights. But you don't want it to be this present. So make sure your size and you're just kind of bringing it down so there's just an edge to it. So it's there, but it's not very present. So you can see if I turn it on and off, just the little difference it makes in terms of making it look like the neon halogen writing. Alright, we're done in this layer. We're going to duplicate our layer again, so I select it and I drag it to the bottom to get my next copy. And we're going to create an inner stroke as opposed to an outer one. So again, right click, blending options, remove all these check marks because we just want the text exactly where it is and none of the existing effects. We're going to go to the word stroke. Change it for the position from the center from outside to center. You want it to be a little bit more present, so I'm going to make one a little more present. But we're going to change it a little bit later so it's not as black on top. Obviously, we want to be able to still kind of see everything. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at about 80%. And say OK. Alright, now we have 3 text layers, our background layer. This layer, we no longer want it to be a text layer, we want to convert it to a layer. So if you right click it, you should be given the option to copy the layer, but if you're not, create layer, don't click copy, create layer. If you don't see it, just select the layer in the layers panel and go to layer style, copy. Hold on one second. If you want to create the layer, it's located, I like when stuff hides on me. Create, oh, let's just find it under the lovely help menu. Sometimes that works. Create layer. Under layer style, create layer. Okay, so layer style. I just seem to be blind. Create layer. Oh, here we go. I'm on an empty layer. That could help. Garbage. Make sure you select the last text, layer, layer style, create layer. Layer style, create layer. And it's going to duplicate it as just a text layer. So we no longer need a copy layer. Sorry, we no longer need the text. So you're going to select that text layer and convert it to the garbage, and then it's gone. Now we're going to add a different effect to this menu. So again, right click, blending options. We're going to start with a drop shadow. I have it at 100, 120, oops, sorry, adding too many zeros, 1209, so 1209. And then I'm going to go to an inner glow, and I'm going to make this color be white. And my setting's the linear dodge, so from here, I'm going to add the word linear dodge at 20%. In the center, And here we're actually going to script this to be kind of like two mountain peaks. So go up one by selecting it and dragging it to the top, and then drag it down to create literally kind of two mountains. Okay. We're going to add an outer glow. Again, we're going to add a bright neon color that you've been working with. In my case, it's been green, so I'm going to stick to the green family and add a bright green. And make sure the setting, I'm going to go with an opacity of 50 and a noise of 3. And I want it to be, again, a linear dodge. Again, softer 0, size 15, so it's a little bit larger. And range 50, jitter 0. Then I'm going to add a bevel and an emboss. The word bevel and emboss. I know there's lots of steps. Inner bevel, smooth, 100 up, 9. 120, 30. Again, your screen, you want to make sure it's white. And your multiply, you want it to be a darker version of the color you've been using. So I've been using green. I'm going to make it a dark green. We're going to use the word satin. Create a color dodge of white. One sec, and we're going to change the contour. So where you have this contour, make sure it looks like a slanted hill and that you have the word inverted. Okay. Last one, go the word color overlay. Again, I'm working with green, so I want that neon green. And then if I hit OK, I have my neon text. Now, you know it feels like we kind of added things a bunch of times, but I'm going to show you what the difference looks like. If I just have the top layer, I'm not going to get that added depth of it. See what happens? Okay, so if you just have the top, you're not going to get all the depth. And there was a mark associated on your thing for having kind of realistic and how well you incorporated it. So having those extra steps really add to the realism of your neon. If you really want to get all creative, if you want to zoom in, you can go Command plus to zoom in. Grab your eraser, and if you want to add edges to kind of give it an extra kind of feel to it, you're more than welcome to erase little pieces, and then it kind of gives it kind of like that cutout of where the lights could bend if it was halogen lighting. So you can see the effects we've done below it kind of come through, and it kind of creates a rustic kind of feel. So it's not like perfect, right? So you can see that. So if you want to make it look like it's kind of been worn down, that's a way to do it by using the eraser. If you don't like it, Command Z undoes, Command Alt Z undoes multiple times. Okay. The next and final step I wanted to do was just show you that if you wanted to have the spotlight on your screen like I do here, I have, as you can see, an effect, a gradient overlay. So if you want to have a spotlight, you just right-click the layer of your background, go to your blending options, gradient overlay, and obviously I don't want mine to be a black to white full screen, but if you choose the drop down, you can go from transparent to dark, and I'm just going to change by double clicking my black box. I can make that white, and it kind of puts like a spotlight on it. So you can see there. And then if I want to change where it goes or the angle, this is where I'd have the option to do that. Okay. So that's linear. If I wanted that radial to give it that circle effect, that's how you could do that. If you don't want it to be as present, but you want it there, you would turn the opacity down. Find a number that kind of works. Okay? So that's kind of a good tutorial on the blending options available for you, as well as how to create that neon text. I'm looking for my stop. There it is. Stop recording. See ya.